when you can walk into a room and relate to people, not as potential voters, not as cable news viewers, but as people, then being authentic actually isn't that difficult. Hey, I'm Chloe Angyal, and you're entering A World Gone Good.
Well, hello, my name is Steve, and this is the place where we shine the light on everyday people making good happen each and every day. Welcome to World Gone Good. And welcome to part 2 of our conversation with Chloe Angyal. That is right, I said part 2, which means if you somehow missed part 1, press the pause button right now, scroll back in the episode guide wherever you're listening to us on, and catch up. Or you know what? Just go ahead and listen no matter order. I am not the boss of you. Okay, so just a few quick reminders before we keep this good train of goodness going. We're going to dive back in a second here. I thought I would just remind you on some things we learned in part 1. Here we go. Chloe Angyal was born in Australia and now lives in Iowa with her husband, Zach, and their son. She has a doctorate in rom-com films. She met her husband, Zach, after she saw a viral video in 2011 where he stood up at a hearing in front of the Iowa House Committee panel he was backing marriage equality. She's not the only one who saw it. I saw the video. 32 million other people saw the video, went viral, for God's sakes. So impressed by him was she that she then posted a blog entitled Marry Me, Zach Wahls. The following day, she received a response from Zach with the subject line, marriage proposal, ? She still has that. She told us she still has that email. She's very proud of it. They became friends. They dated. They got married. He's a state senator for Iowa, and now he's running for an open seat in the U.S. Senate. Oh, and her favorite rom-com of all time is Notting Hill, which I approve of since I live within walking distance of said romantic location. We continue our good time with Chloe Angyal right now. There's something magical about you in that you see it and you go for it. Is that something you've always been, or did you become that person?
Oh, I have to think about that. I think for most of my life, I have had a, well, why not kind of attitude. And there may be legitimate reasons why not, but okay, but why not? Let's just imagine, if we really wanted to make this happen, what would we have to do? And does that sound possible? And could we just try? And it hasn't always worked out. But when it does, it feels really good. I'm proud of those romance novels. I do remember one of my friends who is also a nonfiction writer, when I told her I was working on the romance, and her response was, wait, you can do that? You can just do that? You can just write fiction if you want? And I was like, well, yeah, I don't think there's a body or a panel that you have to get past to give you permission to do it. I think you can just do it.
You can. I mean, I think that's the thing in life. And we talk about that on the show all the time is you can wake up in the morning and just decide I'm going to have the best day I'm ever having in my entire life. Or you can get up in the morning going, this is going to be the worst day of my entire life. But it really is a perspective choice that you can make. You can just do that shift at any point.
Yeah. I mean, I think asking why not is helpful because, again, there might be legitimate, structural, systemic reasons why not. There might be sort of personal, internal reasons why not. But having the attitude of thinking, okay, if that's something that you really wanted, what would you have to do to make it happen? And does that sound like something you would be willing to devote the time, the energy, and the commitment to?
And do you think as a mother that's something important to you to pass on to your children?
It's pretty far down the list of the things that I think about passing on to my son.
Right now, it's probably just teaching him to, poop and wipe his hiney and all those kinds of things.
Oh my God, we're not even there yet, and I don't want to think about it. No, right now it's like, no, that's your chicken. Please don't give it to the dog. I think more about teaching him how to be kind and persistent and helpful. And I mean, I do think, if you have a why not attitude, persistence is gonna serve you well. But I think Zach and I spend a lot less time thinking about like our ambitions for our son's achievement and a lot more time thinking about what kind of character we want him to have. Because, achievements are great, but if you aren't kind and you aren't helpful and you aren't compassionate and you don't work hard, like, who gives a shit what school you went to or what trophy you won, ultimately?
No, that's very true. And I think a lot of that comes through action as opposed to words, and what people see you do on a daily basis.
Yeah. And like we want him to respect and do public service. Is something that we both feel really strongly about. And we want him to understand that everyone has a role to play in creating the kind of world that they want to live in. For most people, that won't be like big heroic actions. It'll be like showing up for your neighbors and taking care of your friends and doing the right thing in ways large and small, but mostly small.
But in some big ways, because perfect segue here, Zach is running for a seat in November as a U.S. Senator.
Yeah, Zach has been a state senator here in Iowa for the last 8 years, and he's now running for an open U.S. Senate seat, being vacated by a deeply unpopular Republican, which means that this is an opportunity to flip a seat from red to blue, and carries with it the possibility of taking back the U.S. Senate for the Democrats, winning back a Senate majority. So we launched the campaign last June. And we knew it was going to be one of the hardest things we've ever done. We were right. I think we underestimated how hard it was going to be. But I don't think I have, maybe since the second week after we launched, I have not once questioned whether or not it was the right thing to do. Zach has spent the last 9 months going all over the state, talking to Iowans in cities, in small towns, in rural communities. He's a Democrat. We are Democrats. But he's showing up in a lot of places where Democrats have sort of stopped showing up and where people have concluded that the Democratic Party has left them behind. And in fact, like in some communities where Democrats in Washington have explicitly said, like, we don't want we're going to give up these people's votes in order to win votes, in other places. Zach is showing up in those places and talking about how to bring down the cost of living, which is just absolutely crushing people all over the country, but especially in Iowa, where the tariff regime has just been disastrous for this state. And also talking about how his vision for a politics that is not corrupt the way our current politics are, where politicians can't be bought and paid for by huge amounts of corporate money. And I think the reason that it's resonating with so many people, many of them Democrats, but a lot of them independents and some of them Republicans who are really disillusioned with, what they're experiencing out of Washington right now, is because I think people understand the connection between that corruption and the high cost of living. Like, they understand that when politicians vote to let private equity companies buy up or like consolidate the fire truck manufacturing sector, which they have, and they essentially have a monopoly, the cost of a fire truck goes up. It's like tripled in the last decade. And the reason that I know that is that my son is obsessed with fire trucks and my husband is obsessed with policy. And so every time Elijah pulls out his toy fire truck, Zach talks to him about how private equity has consolidated the specialty vehicle manufacturing market, because love the man, but he's such a nerd.
Which is way more important than the pooping and wiping I talked about earlier. Let me ask you about this specifically about yourself and about Zach, because I can hear it in your voice and I think I know the answer. A big thing for a lot of people right now is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think about that? How do you guys stay authentic when you're in the public eye?
I think it's really easy in a place like Iowa, in part because people have very finely honed bullshit meters in Iowa. It's hard. It's hard to get people in Iowa to trust you if you aren't authentic. But I also think, Zach is very comfortable talking with people of all ages, all backgrounds, because he understands that there's we have so much more in common than we do than what separates us. Politics is incredibly divisive. It can feel really tribal. But when you actually sit down and have a conversation with someone, regardless of, their big P electoral politics, regardless of who they like to vote for, most people are worried about how to buy a home. Most people are worried about the cost of groceries. Most people are worried about the very real possibility that their kids are not going to have a better life than they did. That transcends politics, and it transcends the sort of performative, I'm a politician giving a speech stuff, because at our core, a lot of us just have the same concerns. And I think a lot of people are just desperate for a politics that doesn't feel like theater, that doesn't feel like talking heads shouting at each other and getting cute little lines in on TV, because that doesn't serve them. That doesn't put books in their libraries or food on their table. It's all just bullshit for show. And so, when you can walk into a room and relate to people, not as potential voters, not as cable news viewers, but as people, then being authentic actually isn't that difficult.
Yeah, and then they're heard, and we're all heard. And I think that's one of the biggest things everybody wants right now, people are craving, is to be heard. We have a slogan for this year. We choose one every year. And this year's slogan is very simple. It is say yes. So my question to you, my friend, is what are you saying yes to right now in your life? It can be anything. What are you saying yes to?
Oh, man. What am I saying yes to?
I never said this interview was going to be easy. Go ahead.
What am I saying yes to? Can I list more than one thing, or is it going to be the one thing?
Of course. No, go for it.
Okay. I am saying yes to being as goofy as possible when I'm playing with my kid. His current favorite thing is when I put my hands into my sleeves and act like my hands have disappeared. He finds it delightful.
I would like that too. Keep going.
It's I am saying yes to accepting help from my community. This campaign our family is giving this campaign everything we got. A lot of time, a lot of energy, and letting people show up for me, whether that means hey, do you want me to come play with your son for an hour so you can get a workout in? Say yes to that instead of being no, I can do it. Yeah, I could, or I could accept that we're part of a community and my community wants to show up for me, and all I have to do is say yes and let them. I'm saying yes to that. And I'm saying yes to, it's really saying no to something. I'm saying yes to DNFing books that I'm not enjoying, to did not finishing, to like, just if I'm not enjoying a book and I've given it, like I'm at the 50% mark and I'm still not into it, like I'm giving myself permission to be like, life's too short and the world is full of books that you will enjoy reading. So you can walk away.
I love that. I read so much. I appreciate that.
Do you DNF, or do you have, like, I know some people are like vehement about sticking with a book even if they're not enjoying it. What's your policy?
Okay, so mine is if it's not working for me, even though everybody else loved it. Trying to think of the name. There's a British book. It took place in the world. It was set in World War One. It was really popular, like a couple years ago.
That is not helpful. That could be most British books. Sorry.
I tried. I was 15, 20. I'm like, forget it. But here's the one I'll tell you really quick, and I'll edit this part
Wait,
out.
was it fiction or nonfiction?
It was fiction. The word all is in the title. Oh my God, I can see the cover. It's three friends. One of them goes off to war. One becomes a priest. She stays in town though, but she opens this little whiskey joint. And I was like, done.
It's tough though, because like I'm not a quitter.
No, I hear you. 100%. And I'm always like, no, I'm sure this is going to pick up. I'm sure this is going to get better. When I love a book, and this just happened, I just finished reading. It's been out for a while. It's right over here. So I want to get this right. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I love a book as much as I've loved this book, I start slowing down at the end and I start looking, I only have 6, 7, 8 pages left. And then I start just reading up. I portion it out like, oh, it's like a good, a good sandwich. I don't want to, we shouldn't eat this all at once because I don't want it to end. Take
slow bites to make it last.
Yes.
Yeah. She's got a novel out called Half His Age that is supposed to be quite good.
I know. And that one's complete fiction. So I'm excited. You talk about what you were talking about. She apparently, but I question that because if you read the first one, you saw she kind of goes for guys who are way much older, whatever, but no judgments. I'm a writer myself. We write from what we know. Okay. So we close these shows with 3 questions, but I actually have 4 for you.
Okay.
We're going to start with the easiest one. Where do people find you? Where do people find Zach? Plug away.
You can find me on Instagram, chloe.angel.writes, and you can find Zach also there, Zach Wahls, Wahls. And if you want to support Zach's campaign, you can go to zachwahls.com. It's a totally people-funded campaign, no corporate PAC money, totally grassroots, and it's funny. Someone messaged me the other day and was like, I donated $5. It's all I can do right now. I hope that's okay. And I was like, that donation is so much more meaningful to me than someone who can write a big check. Like the fact that that's all you could swing and you gave it to us is just incredibly special. So that's what running a grassroots campaign looks like. It's people showing up and giving what they can.
Question number 2. In the rom-com of you and Zach, who are playing you?
I reject the premise of the question because a rom-com would require a third act breakup, and I don't like to think about that.
Well, no. Look at the proposal. We don't need to do that. We can skip it. It doesn't. You just have to have a little argument, and then Betty White can come in and sort of fix it up for you.
I think that only but the reason that works. Sorry to like get into the mechanics of a romance novel with you, but the reason that works is because it's enemies to lovers, so they're in conflict the whole time. Like there's enough conflict to satisfy the need for conflict, but it's all front loaded.
Yes.
Whereas in a normal like boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. Right. Those are the beats in a like non enemies to lovers situation.
Yep.
But Betty White can play one of my mothers-in-law. I have 2 mothers-in-law. They're both wonderful. One of them is like short and funny, and Betty White would be a great casting choice for Jackie. Yeah.
We just have to resurrect her. But this can happen.
The ghost of Betty White.
AI, digitally enhance her.
God.
The final 2 questions we ask of all our guests. This can go back to anything you want to say. Question number 1 is this: who inspires you?
There is a woman who lives a short drive from our house. Her name is Candy Evans. Candy lives in a mobile home Park, that's in Zach's district, right near, right up the road from us. And in 2018, her mobile home park was bought by a corporation from Utah that came into Iowa and bought up a bunch of mobile home parks and started raising the lot rent on everyone living there. And the mobile home is kind of it's kind of a misnomer. It's actually very expensive to move a mobile home off the lot that it's on, and like you own the structure, but you pay rent on the lot. And this out-of-state company came in and started jacking up the rent from month to month by like 50, 60, 70%. Like, can you imagine if your mortgage payment went up by 50% between this month and the next?
Insane. Yeah.
And a lot of these folks are on fixed incomes. They're retired. They're disabled, and like basically no person is in a position to withstand that kind of rent hike. But these people are like definitely not. And Candy organized her neighbors, went to her state lawmakers, one of whom was Zach, and like fought until people listened to her and got legislation through the state Senate to protect some basic rights protections for people living in mobile home parks, because it wasn't just happening. It's not just happening in Iowa; it's happening all over the country, and it wasn't just happening up the road from us; it was happening all over the state. It's incredibly predatory, and it was a harbinger of it happening elsewhere in the housing market. It's happening with single family homes now, just private equity buying up single family homes and sort of crowding out like actual human first home buyers. But yeah, Candy and her community inspire me. And I feel really lucky that she's my neighbor.
Yeah, it was happening all over LA when I lived there in Los Angeles 15 years ago, and especially from the Asian markets. Japan, China were buying up all these properties, and they were just holding them, kicking people out, raising it so much that people left, and then holding them for business people to come in, almost like a Airbnb hotel situation. And then they passed all this legislation in Hollywood, where I was living, where only a small portion, I think it was like 7%, could be done that way. But then they passed this great bill that said like 60-something%, I can't remember what the exact percentages were, had to be leased by people who live in the area who would live in the building full time.
Yeah.
And that's such an important thing. And that happened to us when we moved to Palm Springs. We bought a vacation home in Palm Springs that became our permanent place that we moved into for 3 years full time. And we discovered, oh my God, everyone's just treating this is just a bunch of Airbnbs. But like things were rents were being jacked up all over the place, where people wanting rentals, that could have gone into those places. But my fellow condo owners were preferring to make all the money off of the much higher Airbnb Vrbo prices.
Yeah.
And so there was a whole big fight with the city about that as well. And I'm of course on the side of it's such a crazy thing, because they know we all need a roof over our head.
Right.
And they're going to do everything they can to squeeze it out of us to get it. Just like they all know we're all going to need water, coming up very soon in the world.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, just like the oil wars, we're going to have the water wars. But anyway, we're going to stay good here.
Oh, but just, I mean, to take you back to my wonderful note of a husband and fire trucks, fire trucks aren't optional. Like you have to have them.
Yeah, of course.
Cities and municipalities have to buy them. And so the way that they finance them, when the price has tripled over a decade, is they raise your property taxes. So people, I think, can see the very clear line between that kind of like corruption and consolidation in their politics and like their household budgets, and it just becoming more expensive to live and survive. And again, like you're kind of held hostage. You can't not have fire trucks.
Right. But you can't complain about socialism and then also complain about the price of the fire truck. There's things that are connected. It's like the roads you drive on and the ambulances you have and that stop sign over there and that library. It has to come from somewhere. And it's always been fascinating to me as an American of people who just say, well, just let companies do what they, just you can go up against a company. You'll just deal with the company yourself. Well, how am I supposed to deal with a multi-billionaire?
Really? You got a BYO fire truck?
Yes. What? I'm sorry. What do I have in my? Oh, here it is. Here's that billion I had under my bed. I forgot that I had it here. Or here's
but also
yeah.
we there is an expectation of like some things are public goods and therefore they are like we share them, we pay for them,
community,
and we share them. Yeah, the radical notion that like we don't all have to be like alone in the world.
Right.
Like we can act collectively. We can take care of each other. And I don't think anyone wants to live in a world where like fire trucks and healthcare are only available to the people who can pay the most money for them. That is not a world the vast, vast majority of people want to live in. Most people want to live in a world where we act collectively and take care of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it always comes down to education because I want educated people. I want to know, like, I want to go in 25, 30 years into the hospital and, know that the guy or woman, whoever, or the robot perhaps, the hologram, knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
That's what I would like.
Yeah.
I know that's not asking. I hope that's not asking a lot. Okay. The final question is not a question. It is a way we close the show. You can go back to anything you want to say at all, anything that comes to mind. It goes like this. Finish the sentence. Tell me something good.
I'm going to tell you something that we are trying to teach our son, which is that the world is big and full of people who love you and will care about you.
Thank you, Chloe, for sharing your good with us. Next time on World Gone Good.
For me, the biggest award is when you know that you change the opinion of even one person, who did believe in something else. And then after talking to you, this person changed his mind or her mind about something. I always say the small step is more important than the biggest one.
We just went to Iowa via Australia, and next we're going to Germany via Serbia with our good guest, Sandra Schmidt. She is an animal psychologist, a science writer, a voice for the animals, a steward of the planet Earth, and she just may be one of the most inspiring people we've ever spoken to. She also delivers her show intro in Serbian, which is another good first for us. I can't wait for you to hear our oh-so-good conversation on our next all-new episode. Until then, be good.